Welcome everybody to Power Mondays. We normally do this every Monday from 7:15 to 8:15, but you can log in a bit earlier for connection, networking, and for catching up. And you are most welcome. You can invite your friends, and if it's your first time to be here on Power Monday session, kindly you can leave us your contacts on the chat session, and we will add you to the WhatsApp group that we normally have for more interactions even after the Power Monday meeting. Okay. Yeah, at this point, I'd like to welcome our speaker for today. And our speaker for today is a gentleman who has passion in seeing people live their dreams. And that is one of the reasons it's why he formed Power Monday. And today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic on matters of, I trust you saw the flyer. It's on matters of Judas will always appear. And he has experience in training, he has experience in coaching, and this is where he does best. So help me welcome our speaker for today, Otieno Paul Peter.
Okay, so welcome everybody joining us for the first time, and this is Power Monday. We are glad to have all of you. I don't know who has a copy. Nani, Dr. Lucita was going to read. She is still on the road. So
I'm ready.
Good. There you are. So perhaps you will start with that poem, and then you then you read the pages.
I'll start with reading.
Good.
I think I'll finish off with a poem.
Okay.
We start with it's in page 191.
Yes.
I read the whole prose, or we will read kidogo kidogo.
Just go up to the end, and what I encourage is people, let's note something that touches us, and then we will be able to comment at the end of the reading. Thanks.
Okay, it's in page 191. Judas will always appear. A long time back, I wrote a small blog on this topic in my LinkedIn profile. It is the reality in dealing with team members. I truly value the concept of team building and extremely passionate about it. I talk about it all the time and keep sharing the lessons I have learned over the years. Of the lessons that took me too long to appreciate is this of betrayal and enmity. That is betrayal and enmity. It is, to me, the most emotional and painful of all the lessons one can learn as far as team development is concerned. It took me long to admit it is practically until it hit. I was hit very hard. I had lived in that people don't have to have enemies. I cheated myself that I had none until it dawned on me that my name was actually in some people's list of their own reasons. Truth be told, I believed that people are generally good and I will hardly injure you for the sake of it. But I was wrong. So wrong. Let me add that. Today, I know better, more so in business. As Trump says, animals kill for food, but people will kill you for sport. That is, they will kill you just for fun. My biggest weakness has been the tendency to trust people for their word, believing that people are always what they claim to be and will do what they promise to do. It is not wise. I still plead guilty of the same, despite having learned my lessons the hard way. I try to become cautious though. As a leader, it is important to know that ignorance costs money in business. It is worse when you're just starting out. Many will want to take advantage of you. An ignorant leader is the greatest liability for his team. It is good to be positive and to expect only good from people, but it is realistic to also be a little cautious and put appropriate measures. Why? Because Judas will always appear. Some people will always think you have something that belongs to them. You owe them something. That will include your position, skill, talent, and others. Why will they think that you are less deserving than them? Some strives are purely due to unholy, that is jealousy, others due to unhealthy, that is competitive mindedness, but others are even too difficult to explain. Judas betrayed the Lord for various personal reasons, for better known to himself. We can only speculate. And that is the way it is in life. Judas had his own reasons. It is more real in business world than in any other. It is more real in business world than in any other environments. So I believe. As a leader, part of your task is to identify and manage Judas, failure of which you will succeed, not much. When it comes to building a team, making your own symphony orchestra, it is better to learn how to handle Judas than how to avoid him. It is better to learn how to handle Judas than how to avoid him. For sure, he will always be there. One mystery is that it is not that easy to identify Judas during interviews, auditions, or based on any other ordinary skills. It is because it looks just like any other team, if not better, at least to the mere mortals. Besides, every recruiter knows that recruitment is largely a gamble, no guarantees. So why is it difficult to identify who Judas really is? The following are my reasons. Judas is not necessarily the weak one in the team. Judas is not necessarily the weak one in the team, or the one who strikes the discord key in the symphony orchestra. Is very strong, productive, and ambitious. If you're looking for how to identify Judas in a team, an orchestra, do not think that he's even the moody one who hardly smiles. You are also unlikely to find him among the seemingly non-performer either, not likely. Either you will find him among the non-trainable, those who can make a repeater phrase all the time, still you run crazy. But there he is, always on a mission. I use he not to mean that a she is excluded. Judas, for the sake of our discussion, can be from any gender. The second one is he probably never misses any meeting, practice, or sessions. Actually, he's present almost all meetings, including those called on short notice, even when his opportune time is right. Why? Because he is Thomas. Thomas, where again? Do I mention Thomas?
Because he's not Thomas. Because he's not.
Because he's not Thomas. Thomas, where again do I mention Thomas here? You may ask. This is not because they have always told you that Thomas was a doubting person and thus his character. This analysis is not particularly accurate. It is just a public opinion, not based on any true analysis. In my opinion, Thomas is not a doubter as you are made to believe. Okay. In actual fact, his only weakness is that he misses meetings, sometimes including very serious ones, impromptu or otherwise. But Thomas is not Judas. Our team always has some Thomases as well, okay? In this fast-paced world, things can happen pretty fast, even in his absence. In this case, he justifiably doubts whether it is true until he proves it. Thomas works on facts and always wants to protect his name. It is costlier to have Judases in your team than to have Thomases. That is my understanding so far. Thus, Judas will be present because he has to get information that helps him to keep on track in his schemes. The third one, he is in most cases reliable and brainy for both good and bad reasons. He's a schemer and starts any project with a future in mind. Endgame clearly marked out. That makes him even win key positions in the team. He contributes ideas and stays alert to opportunities. The fourth one, he can lead, he can sell, He's able to seize the moment and identify new horizons. Actually, Judas perhaps has all the attributes many leaders want to look for in valued team member. That is why it is also easy for him to get responsibilities. Then what could be wrong with Judas that you may want to check for? This is very important in building any team. Okay, let us look at selfless versus selfish. A team member that always wants to outshine others and only thinks about self-interest is of no much good, at least for the healthy performance of the team. Ambition is good and commendable, but the goals of the team must come first. As John Ruganda puts it in his book, The Burdens, too much ambition breaks a man. A Judas always puts his goals and ambitions first and cares less about the rest of the team members, let alone the team itself. He reports the wrongs others did and how he tried to save the situation. He defends none but himself and can do anything to rise. If a colleague agreed with him about a particular task, he is likely to forget and let the team member down, not doing as initially agreed. A team leader be in a position to figure this out, at least after some time, and address it appropriately. The Judas was exactly that. And then we have the quick fix versus the long-term solutions. Most Judases want to fix the problem quickly and are not keen to look for lasting solutions. Sometimes it is because they do not expect to be there by the time the problem resurfaces. Their decisions are, in most cases, reward-driven and not policy-based. They look for instant gratification. They can cover a mistake and turn away their attention from it, pretending it did not occur as long as no one else visibly noticed. That is why he chose to sell the master that is motivated by personal and short-term interest. Then shortly killed himself, perhaps to avoid humiliation and or just because his colleagues finally identified him for who he was. Judases hide in evidence and can even volunteer to aid in investigations. Through experience in working with people, I have come to learn that many such people will even come up with ideas that seem great and actively contribute during meetings, sell it to the team and the leaders, make you believe they have it all figured out, then they jump out to leave you struggling to implement the idea when you add all the while expected them to be there to run with it. At times, they're just somewhere laughing and happy to hear that you failed. They could even come up with another story, like they just stole my idea and were unable to carry it on when I left. Such stuff like, if you succeed in implementation, they will still say it was their idea and claim credit. I'll say the end justifies the means for them. That is the third part. This is very archaic philosophy that is not customer focused. If Judas is in sales, for example, his focus is just that the customer may sign the contract and pay so that he can get the commission. His chief drive is commission. Judases do not bother whether the product is delivered or whether the customer is satisfied, and thus put the company in a very awkward positions. They will promise everything as long as they get paid. They are too ambitious to work for the common good. After getting the customer to sign up for unrealistic promises, they find an excuse in something or someone else the moment the customer starts to complain. At times, they do this, then proceed on leave only to let someone else handle this. They will set up their bosses and colleagues. So what is your role? As a leader, your role is to identify Judases as early as possible and administer the appropriate dose. That does not necessarily mean you dismiss them. You can have a training to correct the habit. You could as well do a one-on-one discussion with the culprit, or perhaps encourage open feedback culture so the team members are able to share their thoughts. There are various measures that can be taken to correct and build such members, remembering that recruiting is neither a simple nor inexpensive exercise. Jesus himself did not dismiss Judas, but kept him for the predestined role, always being there for the Lord's orchestra. It is very important that you be careful about whomever you select to be in your team. That alone often makes a big difference. This is where the values of your organization or team come into play. What values do you uphold? What values do you uphold? A number of organizations call them core values. Do you revisit and consider them when you're recruiting? You even remember them to start with? Do you believe in them? When you're carrying out your operations and working with your team, do you keep listening to their hearts in order to know their values? This you can only learn by observing people for a considerable period of time in actual operation. For you do not address such issues. If you do not address such issues, like how your people respond to pressure and their vulnerabilities, you're likely to contend with a big damage at its fullness of time. It is unfortunate that many leaders do not even seem to remember the core values of their own organizations. Values are meant to guide the culture and to help in decision making. Where values are not set, there are no standards, thus no way to keep checks and balances. When inducting new members into the team, it is vital to discuss the mission, the vision, and the values. In most cases, the organizations will only train and discuss technical aspects, then overemphasize on performance without stressing on the importance of working together and work ethics. This breeds a fertile ground for the Judases to grow deep roots, sometimes unintentionally. Training and coaching can help address a lot of issues. And then I finish with a quote that says, the only thing worse than training employees and losing them is not training them and keeping them, by Zig Ziglar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Lucita. Now, we've gone through that, and I believe many of us, most of people who came in at the start, got it. The Making of a Symphony Orchestra is my second publication, and it's called Timeless Leadership. It's built out of experience. A lot of it is out of personal experience. And in my philosophy, a team is like a symphony orchestra. For people who've done any performance with a choral group, a choir that is, you are better able to understand how a choir operates. And I've been in various choirs. I belong to one, and I perform in orchestral music. So the best analogy I've ever come across is, if you look at the way a choir operates, a full orchestra with all the instruments, different instruments playing, and even the vocal instruments, that is the people who are singing, they've got to follow certain order. Everyone doing something probably different from the other, and even those that are doing similar things, they've got to move in a particular pattern in order to produce the music, the quality of the music that we are looking for. And that is exactly what a team should be. That is exactly what a company should be. That is exactly what any group that has a common goal should be. Working together towards a common goal. And you as the leader becomes the director of the symphony orchestra. And if you do not provide that proper direction, then you end up with discord. Everyone running his or her own race. And by the end of the day, we do not achieve that which is supposed to be achieved. And that's where, if you do not therefore identify such Judases, the types of team members you have will always have an impact, or at least a bearing towards the result you're going to have. And as said, Judas will always appear. For whichever reason, I wrote this, I started writing about this, I think over 10 years ago. You see, over 10 years ago, I was writing about Judas will always appear. And that had come out of my experience with people in business. Even when you don't expect, even when you think everyone is genuine, by the end of the day, I love a quote by Buddha that says, 3 things cannot be long hidden. And that is the sun, the moon, and the truth. So ultimately, you will always get that person. And it doesn't matter which team you are in. I've been in different teams, in church groups, in business groups, and in different others. And by the end of the day, by the way, I want to believe that here amongst us, there are no Judases. But just in case they are there, they are learning that at least we get to know them. It's very important to have this knowledge, because to me nowadays I don't get bothered. I don't get depressed about the same or get surprised, because I am immune. I've learned that to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So the moment I learned this and developed this philosophy, the moment I meet such people, I really just know that that is part of the story. Because Jesus, out of the 12, he still managed to get one of them. And by the way, he kept him all through. So Judases are there. And even as a leader, you cannot be perfect, but they can capitalize on maybe some of your weak areas. In business, this is even more critical, because you will lose money, you will lose customers, you will lose, probably they will go with your customers. If at times they will actually go with your customers, yeah, and they will pull one on you, you will be surprised. And sometimes we get deceived by the people who even look more pious. I remember in a team that I just finished a term with recently, one told me that, I always get jittery when people keep introducing themselves as born again and all that, because by the end of the day, you realize that there is nothing born again in them. And I've had teams where I have somebody always the one leading us in prayers and everything and all that. And by the end of the day, it turned out to be the serpent. So these are things I've lived every day and almost in very many teams. And the moment I repeat them, I realize how genuine it is, the facts that were written here. Now, I will open floor for us to comment. And as we said, we will encourage that at least you are in video when you're doing this. If you are employed, part of what you're going to realize is what they call corporate politics, where the persons who are supposed to work with you as a team might actually work to sabotage your progress, because in one way or the other, they believe that you owe them something, or you own something that belongs to them. It's quite a sad scenario. Yeah, sometimes even your leaders might end up being the people who are sabotaging your progress. So, and what is your role, by the way, in that case? I love to say that the universe does not owe us anything. If you do your best will always follow you. And I love to say that if you are in a particular team where you feel like you are not being given room to grow, it doesn't matter. If you give your best, somebody else, not just necessarily there, somebody else will identify you, because you've gotten an opportunity to display what you have, to showcase whom you really are. And therefore, you just need to be your best and do your best. And by the end of the day, somebody else somewhere will pick you and will be able to compensate you for all that you've been able to do. So if that is the scenario you work in an office, in a corporate environment, it's okay. At least you have an opportunity to display your type of person, to showcase your product. So like we've said, Judas is not necessarily the weakest in the team. That's far from it. And we talked about even coming to meetings. By the way, these people come. They're always there. They're very active and doing much of what you may want to be done there. Some of them might be good just for a quorum, because some of them may also be very careful not to be marked out as not to contribute something that might expose them as people who are not very informed or something like that. But they scheme. Yes, they don't miss meetings apparently, and you realize that I also talk about Thomas. No, part of what we've learned over the years is that a doubting Thomas, but that's not accurate, because Thomas Thomas was not really doubting. If a team member is not there a couple of times, there is always a likelihood that some other things will be done and passed in his or her absence. And when they come, they will doubt. No, we can't do that. No, that was not. And sometimes these are the people who will come and drag you back, trying to explain or justify why a certain decision was taken. You see, but that is who Thomas is. They just miss meetings. That is their problem. And then when they come, they want to verify facts. They are really not as bad people. Yes, maybe they're just too much engaged. But if you have a Judas, you know that there is a possible casualty, and you need to prepare for it. And most times you can trust them with the responsibilities. You will entrust them. Judas himself was entrusted with the treasury, the Ministry of Finance, and I think that's what he was awaiting. That when Jesus becomes the king, then he will definitely be in the ministry of money. Now, we've talked about them being selfish. You might think that people are working as a team for a common goal, but they're working for a personal interest. This is important anyway. All of us have personal interests in every relationship. But the question is, are we able to fuse our personal interest into the common interest, so that when a common interest is achieved, then our personal interest will also be achieved? But some other people don't consider this. They want to consider just personal interest. It doesn't matter what happens, because by the end of the day, they don't really think that tomorrow matters. It's today. Yeah, too ambitious. As has been said, John Roganda wrote, too much ambition breaks a man. Then they look for quick fixes. They look for something, and they can capitalize on some opportunity just to make them be known and something like that, recognized as fit and more genuine and goodwill, or having goodwill or something like that. Most times it is all in the name of being identified and being promoted or being rewarded. And then the end justifies the means for them. The end justifies the means. It doesn't matter which route they follow. If they can get it, that is all they're looking for. That is all they're looking for. It doesn't matter who gets hurt. It doesn't matter whether the team wins. They just need to win. And now, you as a leader, you are supposed to be able to identify such people, and you start early. And it starts even when you are recruiting. If you have an opportunity to recruit, in some cases, and by the way, in many cases, we are not even in that position to recruit because we are given team members. But then that is where we also need to start building bonds, getting to know people. And this one you can always know by trying a few things. In one of the teams, I got to know who Judas is when we did a few external activities. You see, yeah, then I started to know, okay, this is the way this person looks like, or this is the culture of this person. It's good to always share values, core values, to share the vision of the organization, the mission of the organization, and keep discussing the same. Encouraging open feedback will be able to help you hear from other team members what their experience is with a member of the team or some members of the team. Very important. If people are not encouraged to share authentic feedback, and sometimes even in private, and you are not condemning people for saying what, then you will be able to at least get some indication on what could be transpiring. Now, that does not necessarily mean that they will change, because I've also learned along the way that some people don't change. Yeah, there is this story I always like relating. It's also in this book about the frog and the scorpion, where a frog was crossing a stream and a scorpion also wanted to cross. And then the scorpion, we know, and it's true that it could not swim. So it asks the frog, Mr. Frog, please help me to cross the stream. Just carry me and help me cross. But then the frog says, no, no, no. As far as I'm concerned, you're a scorpion and you can sting. And if you sting me, I'm likely to die. And then my help will have been in vain. But then the scorpion is very sly in this case and smart, and tells the frog, I can't do that. Just imagine, if I do it, you die, I also die. So then that will be very senseless of me. And then the frog listens and says, by the way, it makes sense. And so you are able to so the frog carries the scorpion around across the stream, but right in the middle the scorpion stings, and then the frog asks, why did you do it? Now we are both going to die. But then the scorpion says, it's because I am a scorpion and scorpions sting. Now if somebody is a scorpion, just get to know that there is not much you can do about it. As somebody also said, you cannot take your ducks to eagle school, or you cannot take your eagles to duck school. Ducks will be ducks, eagles will be eagles. So there are certain salient things in a team member that are very difficult to change. And that's where we talk about the 5 key attributes in a team. One is character. We represent it by the thumb, the strong finger. Character, the strength of character. If the character is flawed, then there is very little you can do as the leader of the team, you see. And then number 2 is commitment to a cause. Yes, this finger that points, yes, are we committed to a particular line, a particular cause, a particular objective? If one is not committed to that, then you will be able to know, or you should be able to know. And then the middle finger, the tallest, is competence. Competence. Are we able to do the task that is supposed to be done in the right way it's supposed to be done? And then the ring finger for relationship is chemistry. How you work well, how a team member works well with the other team members. You see, chemistry. If somebody is not able to work as part of a team, yes, then you know definitely there is something wrong. Because it doesn't matter how competent somebody is. If working as a team becomes a problem, then you definitely cannot be with that person. You cannot produce the results that you're looking for. Yes. And then the little one, I call it the charm. Yes, the little thing that makes the difference. What is the charm in it? What is it that makes somebody outstand? So whenever I'm building a team, I always look for all those other things plus others. I call them there are some other 6 A's. I call them the 6 abilities of a team member, which I've written there. So at this particular point in time, I want to open up the discussion. People can share what they grasped in the reading. Maybe also if you have certain additions or certain questions you want to put forward, some of you can always put them in the chat. So anybody who has a contribution or who has something you picked in the book that you would like to comment on? Yes, Dr. Eda said there, I also become very suspicious of people who introduce themselves with their born again status. With time, there is an opportunity to know who they really are. Yes, repeat first two work, character and then commitment. Commitment to a cause. Character with a thumb finger is character. Yeah, thank you very much, Razia. It's been yes, Nancy. Nancy, okay, you unmuted and there is some noise.
Yeah. I was saying,
Yeah.
when you in banking, maybe a banker is here, they can bear witness. When you join banking, you're being told that number one, everyone is a thief. Number two, you're being told, trust no one but yourself. Number three, you're being told, if you mess yourself, you mess the world. So that makes sense now, that trust no one but yourself. But then you have to trust your team. That is what I've learned. And then I have a question. What if your Judas is your team leader?
Thank you, Nancy Mora. Yeah, I actually started by saying that in some instances it might be the leader. And I said, that's quite okay. By the way, sometimes you need to learn much about how to thrive in difficulty. Some people call it recoil reaction. Yes, it is when somebody puts you to fire that you thrive most. Why? Because you stay true to yourself. You see, truth will always come out at some point. You can give it time, but it will come out. At least I've learned that out of experience. Truth will come out. So you stay true to yourself. And because I love to say that you are always paid twice. You're paid by the opportunity to demonstrate what you can do, and at least to practice it. Because if you sit without practicing it, at some point you will start rotting, you will decay. So getting an opportunity to practice your trade, whether they are paying you in cash or not, is an important thing. So you are there, do your best and display what you can do. If you are a player and you are not in the field, somebody who is scouting for a good player will not be able to identify you. So we've got to be ready to play. We've got to be ready to get into the field and show at least what we can do. That is very important for you. The second payment is in cash. And we love to say that if you have to miss one, please miss the cash. Don't miss the opportunity to demonstrate what you can do, because thereafter, somebody else, and I said, the universe doesn't owe us anything. It will finally pay. Life will always find a way to pay you. And I've seen that with different people. Yes, you are somewhere trying your best, whatever, maybe nobody appreciates, somebody else will be able to appreciate it and will be able to identify it because you took an opportunity to do it with the right attitude, and they will be able to compensate you. Somebody asked if this happens in family settings. Yeah, a lot of it, more so in the extended family, even in the nuclear family. You see, some of these things, they are developed in people. So there is very little you can do. I'm not saying you go start looking at your siblings, but it happens. That's why you realize that siblings kill themselves, maybe for land, the land they want to inherit. And you've all had such scenes. You see, extended families, you see maybe some people working, not willing to support somebody else, maybe in their personal endeavor or in school, or you're starting a business, maybe the family doesn't even seem to pick it while you thought they would pick it, and things like that. So this is something that happens. But I love to focus largely on very on the business world, and even the other world that is not just the family, where we are productive. Thank you very much. Yes, any other contribution on the same question? Ignorance is the greatest liability of mankind. That's one of my favorite quotes. I put it all the times because for lack of knowledge, you will pay. You will pay in cash, and you will pay with pain, and you will pay with maybe reputation. Most times, your reputation might be tarnished. But don't worry, because along the way, it will be noticed that you actually were innocent. You see, even Centurion said, surely this must have been the Son of God. Yes, and many people confess this person was innocent. Yeah. So yes, I tell. Yeah, they are genuine sheep, but then they are wolves in sheep clothing, and they use the same connotation, they use the same identity. So you will not know them. You better just check on those things that we've talked about. Yes, any other with respect to either the book or section that we read, or
Paul, my hand is up.
oh yeah, thank you very much, Kiriba. I wasn't seeing. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I know when you're on that, or when you are on the screen, you might not see. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's been quite a nice engagement, and I thought it's just good to share a bit of my experience. So
Yes,
yeah, it's true what you've said. The world does not owe anybody anything. So you just have to wake up and do what you're meant to do. And maybe speaking from a corporate point where you need to know who is your Judas and who is with you, I think the point to do is for somebody to just keep on focusing. What is your role here? The whole idea is to know you go up, you show up to work, you are meant to deliver 1, 2, 3. So you are going to deliver that through the team, because remember, at the end of the day, it's a whole choir out there. So for you cannot avoid the Judas, but you can always be able to pin everybody to perform and deliver what they are meant to be. So when you're having these engagements, especially if you are the leader of the team, you need to keep them very professional. You need to know what everybody is doing. You just drive it based on what are the outputs. And of course, considering the other factors, you will never miss them, but you also need to be very focused. And I liked what you said. Most of the time, these people will be very bubbly in the team. They'll be supporting you. They'll be your cheerleaders, only for them to go behind the scene and try to put you down. So you need to be you need also to be very aware in terms of who your team members are. So you get to learn more about them and about what drives them to work. And that way you are able to deal with them. You cannot totally do away with them, but you're able to deal with them on a very professional point where it is just about what do they deliver and what are they meant to be doing. That's my contribution, and thank you for that.
yes, thank you very much. Yeah, you just need to stay focused on what brought you there. Give it, do it to the best of your ability. And the moment these people, sometimes you have no much control about what they are going to do, but at least you have control about what you're going to do. And at the stage in time, that's up with reactions that might be disastrous. So you are able to contain your emotions. You're able to act decisively, just doing what is right. The other day, I was reading some story about some Jack Roosevelt Robinson, the first Black American to break the barrier, the color barrier in sports, yeah, national championships. And he went through all that, but in silence. And it was a deal that they'd signed with some other team leader who wanted him exactly for that particular purpose. He told him, you are going to meet lots of challenges, but just the way you will be silent. Yes, like the sheep were taken to slaughter. And by the end of the day, you win more admiration by not retaliating, by not acting any evil, but just doing your work and focusing on what you're supposed to do, and staying positive. Yes, I love what Dr. Eda has said. It's by their fruits. And I've said this in many times when we are evaluating leadership. Yeah, they will talk. Their fruits, you will know them. Yes, they will purport to look this, whatever, but by their fruits, you will know them. Yes. If something is bitter, it is bitter. They will look beautiful, oranges, whatever, but when you taste the fruit, then you are able to know them. So leadership is results. Check what results can we show out of your leadership. Very, very important. Yeah. Then as you're talking about other attributes, things we talked about earlier, maybe you explain better. Success and failure depend on the Judas says in our personal, spiritual, and professional lives. Big question is, at what point do we draw the line and the link? It depends on whether you have that capacity to draw the line. Yes. And sometimes we are told don't judge. Sometimes I try to imagine what is it that they are thinking. Yeah, maybe they are just trying to survive, and that is the best way they know how. But you can always express your dissatisfaction or your concerns with the guy if they are willing to listen. But many times you might realize that some of these people, they are more believable than you. When they speak, they are more believable. So you better just choose your own battles and do what you can do. How about those who openly fight you or try to bring you down? And they are also Judas. That is very beautiful. You know, there is a law in life that what you resist persists. You see? So that law will always help you. If people try to fight you, for some reason, they also help you to thrive. Yeah. Check even in politics. When people gang against somebody, they help him to thrive and he gets even more popular and something like that. So it's a very beautiful thing when people choose to fight you. It's okay. They will help you to thrive because there is a law. It's a law of nature. What you resist persists. If people try to resist your growth, you will just grow. That's the way it works. So you stay positive and do what you are able to do best. Be your best. Don't show grudge. At least I've learned that if you show if you have bad feeling, it is your bad feeling that can block you from growth. But if you choose to stay positive and know that there is this thing you need to know. You cannot climb the ladder of success with your hands in the pocket. If you meet resistance, then that is the only way to know you are growing. You must meet resistance. You must meet people who are trying to pull you down, because then it means you are climbing up. You see? Yeah, somebody said, if you feel people kicking you on your butt, then you know you are ahead, you are leading. So a leader or somebody leading, somebody shining and growing, you cannot miss people who will talk ill against you. You cannot miss people who will pull you down. By the way, if you realize that everyone loves you, you have a problem. You have something to worry about. Yeah, it's an impracticality. So just embrace them as the signs that you are growing, the signs that you have a big potential and that your future is bright. That is true, and you better believe me. If nobody told you that, just believe it. It's true. Yeah. How about if Judas is your client? That's good. Mm. I've dealt with different clients differently, and sometimes I choose to lose a client. I hardly lose clients, but at times I choose to lose them in peace. Yeah, once in a while. Yeah, like when I was working with Africa Online, somebody would put you to trouble for something that you know it's purely their mistake. You see, somebody, we were sorting out connection problems. You know that on your side there is nothing at all that is blocking this person from connecting to internet, but on their side they have the problem and they want you to go there at night, and I'm working at night. I tell that that's not possible, and if you think that is what I need to do in order to work to please you, then I'm sorry, that I won't do. It's night, I'm the only one. Even over the weekend, I'm the only one. The earliest I can send to you somebody. This is your problem. We are coming to sort you out there. And at times you realize that they themselves have not even connected some cable on their side and it was all fine. So those ones are there. Yes, somebody says hand is up. I wasn't checking. Which hand is up? You can speak. I'm not seeing a hand up.
It was me. Good morning, everybody.
Good
For me, it's
morning.
just to share on the topic of today, which is very important because I realized most of us people don't share these things openly. Company politics is real, and it is there even in these, especially these big organizations. It is real, and if we don't handle it properly, because at times I think when I was growing in my career, somebody told me, don't get involved in company politics. But I came to learn the hard way when I found myself in the middle of a big organization. There are Judases all over the place. In fact, today is when I can brand them as Judases. But that time I didn't brand them that. You find someone may come to your office and especially if you're in HR, because HR is a very sensitive department. And then they'll tell you, did you hear the decision the boss made about 1, 2, 3, 4? And then you make your comment. And then that comment is now taken to the director. You know, the HR was saying, and then the whole thing blows on your face. But you see, you are sharing with this person in confidence. So it's very important for us to know who comes to you, what are they saying, and what are you contributing? Because there is an intention why they have come to bring that subject to you. They just want to get your mind. And then if there are those Judases, they run with what you've said. So it's serious. But what I believe in politics, company politics, because they will always be there. You need to know who calls the shots. As the trainers told us, who is this person who is listened more by the bosses, so that you are also careful in what you say, you say in their presence. So you need to know who calls the shots, who influences the decisions of the bosses, who are these people carrying information from your department to another one, and all that. And then, as we've been told by several people who have spoken, just focus. We focus, do your job. But then please tell us, I have a question. Is it good for you to avoid speaking so much about maybe the leadership and all that, because you find you're part of the leadership, but these Judases will come and they want to pick your mind on something. So is it good for you to contribute? So it is good, or it is good for you to keep off unless you are asked to contribute in a meeting, to remain safe so that you also don't expose yourself a lot.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you for your contribution. Now, I love everything you said. One thing I believe is be authentic. I try to always speak my mind so that everyone knows that even if you call me for a meeting, I will speak my mind. Now, we are always taught that 3 things you need to avoid, 3 C's. I talked about 5 C's when you're evaluating. 3 C's you need to always avoid: complaining, criticizing, and condemning. When people come with things that look like complaint or gossip or whatever, just avoid them and tell them that you will need to discuss that maybe in a meeting or something like that, so that it can be aired, or you ask their own opinion. How do you think this one can be addressed? So that they give you their own mind. But don't be party to any side talk about somebody else. You see, whoever is coming to talk to you about somebody else, just get to know that afterwards they will talk to somebody else about you. So you will avoid every situation that puts you to be like you're gossiping or talking behind somebody. Just let them be whom they are, you see. And when it's a meeting and people are talking about something, you can always talk about what you believe, what is authentically yours. Yeah, you cannot change some people, and you do not really want to change them. They can change themselves, however. Somebody is asking, yes, Maurice, it feels nice to get back to the book after the recess. How best do we handle personality differences which might appear as Judases in a team? Otherwise, yes, there will always be differences, and that's why I say you can always try to fit into somebody's shoes. You see, what is it that they are trying to achieve? Yes, could it be they are trying to save their skin? And you need to be comforted by this statement that truth will always come out. It doesn't matter in your time or even beyond your time, it will come out. Time will vindicate you. So if you're on the right, stay true to yourself and don't bend just because you want to please somebody. Yeah. So I think we are time barred unless there is really a burning question or comment. It's already 8:17. Yeah. So one thing is, it's good to know that coming Saturday, Power Monday team, we are meeting at the Langata Botanical Gardens for a meet and greet to get to know each other more and share our businesses, our profession, and how we can always boost each one of us, every member's network. Maybe somebody is doing something you may be interested in and something like that. So on Saturday, which is this coming Saturday, we are going to be at the Langata Botanical Gardens. It's only 1,000 shillings for meals and everything else. So people can register. There is a list that is there, and you send to Antonia. Antonia is in the WhatsApp group also, and her number is indicated there. Number 2 is we are planning to be having a monthly market day, which will be starting next month, the first Wednesday. Same timing, people just log in to display their merchandise, to share what they do. And maybe that will be able to also help some other people to be able to grow in their career or in their businesses. First Wednesdays of the month, the first one will be on the 5th of April. Same timing, 7:15 to 8:15. People just share, oh, I do the following, 1, 2, 3, and something like that. Otherwise, thank you all. Yes, Antonia, is there anything that I'm missing? You can speak, then we close. Oh, yes, Olale, you want to say something?
Yes. Yeah. Can we also encourage members to share, right, for those who may